ENTJs are awesome. Being an ENTJ, I'm biased.
Smoke weed every day.
ENTJs. I like them a lot. Hell, I am one.
Smoke weed every day.
Sounds boring.
I don't know. Never bothered to read about them.
All they can do is orchestrate others to get shit done. I find them extremely annoying as an INTJ. Our methods are complete opposite. I literally only orchestrate myself to get things done. I will say though, having one that you're close to is super handy. Make them think they're the boss, of course. And they'll do all the extrovert work you don't want to do. My ENTJ does the fundraising and talking to investors and shit. I just motivate her. ENTJs like to rule the world by themselves, while we INTJs are keen on training somebody to rule the world for us. If you ask the relationship between I and ENTJ, it's probably the master-pupil one.
Cold, calculated assholes that try and manipulate everyone in their path to get whatever they want. But they're kinky in bed and will surely take care of you if one happens to fall in love with you. I've dated a couple ENTJs and worked for one for 10 years. My brother is also an ENTJ.
Not nearly as bad as ESTJ. At least an ENTJ can be right sometimes.
I like them. They are so different from ESTJs. ENTJs know how to mentor people and have vision. I look up to them and try to emulate their TE function.
They talk too much. My old boss was ENTJ. He talked too much, but I respected him.
Have to mute them on FB.
My best boss ever. He also had high emotional intelligence.
Yeah, my ENTJ boss is pretty awesome too.
Smell like soap. I love working with ENTJs so much. I'll deal with the loudness because I love efficiency.
Have a sister and a male roommate. ENTJs can't stand the male roommate half the time. Just pisses me off being loud and extra all the time.
They are rude. Lack of empathy. Big time.
ISFP here. ENTJ have the same functions as my type but in reverse. One thing that tick me off is lack of empathy. I have a friend who is definitely an ENTJ. She lacks empathy. We get along only if I agree or compromise. It's exhausting. You guys need to stop trying to solve our problems and just validate our emotions. We are not wanting our problems to go away. We want others to understand why they are problems.
ENTJs are just strange. I have yet to meet a mature one. They probably exist, but they would have to do as much growing as INFPs have to do to deal with society. For some ENTJs, life comes by pretty easy as society is structured to promote their strengths, but it seldom presents them with the necessity to train their weaknesses.
The ENTJ I know is bossy, controlling, disingenuous, dishonest, selfish, stingy, duplicitous, greedy, etc., etc.
I don't really like them. They're usually way too bossy for anyone to tolerate and are kind of narcissistic too. We always need therapy to deal with them. They're too tiring.
They are too bossy and ask lots of stupid questions that only they want to hear the answer to. They could automatically think that you are below them intellectually and could speak to you as if you are some kind of retard. I hate them acting so arrogant in my presence because only I get to be that arrogant asshole. I generally like ENTJs, but what annoys me is that many have a bad habit of talking at you and not with you. And they can be stubborn and make you wonder why they even bother having a conversation. So at times I feel like telling them they should get a dog or something. My best friend of more than 2 decades is arrogant, condescending, manipulative, controlling, dismissive, demeaning, can't be wrong, pushy, among other rotten behaviors. This person became an unbearable burden, and a royal pain in the ass. Royal pain in the ass. Kicking that ENTJ to the curb is one of the kindest things I've ever done for myself. No more ENTJs in my inner circle ever again. They like to take the monopoly. They are more authoritarian too. Temper tantrums. I've seen them be really narcissistic, turbulent, quick to anger and overly sensitive about random things. Obviously anyone can be like this, but just things I've seen more common in my ENTJ friends. They will blast out those feels too. And if you disagree with them, then it's a sharp cut down. They also try and recruit others to be as upset as them and try and recreate a tribe of people all angry about what they are angry about. But at least they are ENTs. I gave birth to one. She's terrifying. I like it. I dated two. I'd run now. Do not love them at all. ESTJ is much worse.
I have less trouble with ENTJ bullying than ESTJ bullying. ENTJs usually have a logical reason. And since they are often pretty smart, usually the reason makes sense. But ESTJ reasons are often, because I said so, or, because we've always done it that way. Totally rankles my INFJ-ness. ENTJ here. Also feel free to hate. I am ENTJ and if someone hates me for what I am, it's completely fine. The two most abusive people in my life were ENTJs. I've also had a couple of successful friendships with ENTJs as well. You have to take everyone on a case-by-case basis.
I love ENTJs. My psychology teacher is an ENTJ. Love him to death. I've only met one ENTJ in real life, but he turned me into a fan of the type. Find them honest, upfront, no bullshit people. I'm not in a romantic relationship with an ENTJ, but I worked with one for a while. Absolutely adored the guy. He was the brightest, funniest guy I've ever met. Gosh, he was so brilliant. It was actually an honor to work with him. I know one and I love her. So driven. So strong. So independent. I admire her anti-BS shield. And deep inside, she really does care about her loved ones. She'll do anything for the ones she really loves. Unlike me, she really knows how to draw boundaries and have everyone respect them. My mom is ENTJ. I really admire her. Very ambitious, extremely hardworking, philanthropic, responsible, etc. What I don't like are sometimes, she can be close-minded. And she has terrible temper, bossy, show off. My dad is ENTJ. Most intelligent person I've ever known. Creative and just a great thinker. Also insensitive, blunt, bossy. Lol. Interestingly, my family always say I'm the only one that can handle him or understand him.
In my experience, ENTJs are better debaters. ENTPs are charming and are better at changing the minds of dumb people. But when it comes to building a case of truth value, it's tough to beat ENTJs. I've met lawyers who were ENTJ. I wasn't per se attracted to them, but it amazed me how intelligent and logical they are. And they are so incredibly open and chatty. I can tell it got on their nerves when I was not as realistic about things. But they did make sure to help me have more confidence, and set adequate boundaries against the opposing party. I think I see why a successful ENTJ would be into INFPs. So long as the INFP isn't as socially avoidant, and smarter, and more cultured, less naive compared to me. I always envied them for having the energy to deal with humans all day long, and then deal with their own things. Definitely jealous of their natural organization and completion skills. The alpha type. The overman.
Too controlling. At least the one I know.
Just submit to him as supreme overlord. He is not overcompensating by trying to control everyone. He is just alpha as fuck. Act like it and take his 13-inch cock up your ass.
I dated one. He's a good guy. He was just a little bit too focused and partying to settle down. He liked being the center of the group. I'm not really a partying person, so it didn't work out. ENTJs are not romantic. They just want sex.
I don't want to spoil anyone's fun. But when I was told that I was an investment, I kind of lost my respect for ENTJs. But maybe some ENTJ can change my opinion at some point in the future.
I know you feel objectified. But to an ENTJ, that seems to mean that you are worth the time and energy spent in pushing you to achieve your potential. If the ENTJ truly cares for you, all they want to see is for the person to reach that potential.
Yes, I understand how they mean something. But I just can't handle the insensitivity. Whenever something came up, I have to gather all my resources to speak about it. It's incredibly draining, because you have to make a rational argument about it to explain it. It's like running up and down my function ladder.
One eternity later.
A more mature ENTJ is probably less draining. First lesson: teach them to ask, "How are you today?"
ENTJs and ESTJs believe emotions are showing feelings are a sign of weakness. I feel sorry for them, because they are in denial. They don't even know when they are unhappy. Or if people around them are unhappy. Don't buy their argument.
One eternity later.
But being over-emotional is not a good thing either. It shouldn't cloud our objectivity or judgment. Best to strike a balance, and to educate the ESTJs and ENTJs that having good EQ is necessary for life. Feelings as a dominant function as a strength. Make it work for you.
Yes, I had an ENTJ colleague who drove me nuts because he would state his opinions as though they were facts. Although they were usually just borrowed opinions from other people.
ENTJs are extremely rational and sometimes very assertive too. They are far more processed individuals than any other person. They are very independent. It takes a lot of hard work to build a relationship with them. They are very critical about themselves and others. My sister is an ENTJ. She is way more dominant, and oftentimes rude. She has never apologized for anything. Ever. To anyone. I saw a comment about ENTJs being much more vocal about thinking they know better than others, and I would have to agree with this statement.
My ENTJ coworker uses tact and appealing to people's feelings as a strategy to accomplish his goals. So he really creates the impression of being a people person. Unfiltered, though, he is intensely direct, blunt, and most people would be freaked out when he talked.
I think ENTJs are more laid back than that. All of the ENTJs I've known had a goofy streak. They were grounded when needed, then pranksters the rest of the time. Plus they always give me awesome advice, and they don't blow off my instincts. I like them. Fun. Usually, people have this unfair stereotype about them being burly, and bossy, and being some kind of sociopathic professionals, when a good portion of them are generally nerdy and friendly people. They simply don't tolerate others stepping on their toes, and they have a strong penchant for efficiency. My best friend is an ENTJ. They're like little bunny rabbits who want everyone to think they're lions.
My husband is an ENTJ and I'm INFP. I see how people see them as this. It's their outer mask. Like they said, bunny rabbits who make themselves appear as lions. They are actually so passionate and caring.
ENTJ bosses are awesome. I love their strategies. I've learned a lot of things from them. They teach me to separate work from personal emotions. I admire them so much.
My best friend of 10 plus years is one. He's the best person to work on projects with. You need one introverted idea person and one extroverted and super organized person to get the job done right. I highly recommend ENTJs as friends.
If you want your ideas to manifest in real life, date him or her. They will take you to the top.